HolloTalk Podcast. This is Jetpack Nik, and I got my guy Mike with me today. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me on, Nick.
For sure, bro. It's been a long time coming. I'm just glad to have you on, even though they can't see you. But for the people who are gonna hear it, it doesn't matter. But the people who are gonna see this, he's not on camera.
Technical difficulties, but we still have to do the pod before the year ended. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, most definitely. So, so for the topic today, we are going to be talking about self-actualization. So, you guys know how we like to do it when we give you a word or anything as a word for a topic. We like to give the proper definition. So, I want to start off by giving a proper definition of self-actualization, which is the realization or fulfillment of one's talents and potentials, especially considered as a drive or need to present or need present in everyone. It's a public school education. Can't read that good. No, a little jokey joke. No, but
yo,
you gotta keep it light, man.
I feel you.
No, but yeah. So with self-actualization, there is like a few subtopics under that broad umbrella. One of those being tortured introspection. I know that's something that you have a great affinity for. That's something that you have a strong knowledge about. So I'm gonna pass that over to you and let you explain to the people what that exactly is.
Most definitely, bro. Most definitely. You see, before I can even get to what that is, I gotta tell a story about how I came across that term, because it's not a term that I don't think that you really hear. And if you've heard it, it might have like skipped you by. So it's funny. I caught that John on Twitter. I was on Twitter. Maybe this got to be after Life of Pablo in 2016 drop. I remember because Kanye and Drake had a live show where Drake was actually doing a show and Kanye came as a special guest to perform, like one of those like out of nowhere. Oh my God, is Ye? He popped up at the Drake show and he about to do some records. So that was what was going on. Mm-hmm. And then there was the recording, before all this Drake Ye beef popped off. This is mad years before that, but there's this recording during that live show where Drake and Ye are on stage together. And Ye, he likes to go mad speeches during the concerts. Like he'll have a whole hour talk, but it was Drake's show, so he didn't do that. But he said, I don't know if you're ready for the album that's about to drop. And the crowd goes hype. And he points to himself and said, I'm not talking about this album. Then he points to Drake and says, I'm not talking about that album. And then he like does the wave motion with the both of them. So I'm talking about this album. And the crowd goes crazy. Mm-hmm. And this is before quote tweets were a thing. But someone had the retweet and it said retweet to the tweet. And it said how like if they can make this album called Wolves, and it's like like an experiment of tortured introspection, this album is going to be crazy. Of course, the album never dropped. We know that to this day.
Right.
But the actual line, the phrase tortured introspection killed me for a moment. Cause I was like, damn, I've never heard of that. That moment when you hear something and it describes what you've been going through and you finally have something to describe what you're going for the first time ever.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt when I heard that phrase, tortured introspection. So as I try to reflect on the phrase, I got an understanding of what it meant to me. So, to be an introspective person by nature, not getting to the definition, it's just a self-analysis. You're soul searching, you're reflecting on your own mental and emotional self, whether it's about things you've done, your progress, achievements, so on and so forth. But ultimately, it's an inward look at yourself. It's you looking at you. But when it's tortured introspection, what it essentially is, it's a twisted look back at you, a painful, or it's like looking at yourself in a manner that's so psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually painful that it hurts to actually reflect in such a manner. And that can be not necessarily because you don't like to introspect, but because of what you're introspecting about. Maybe life's not going the way you want to go right now. Maybe some certain things have popped off recently with you in your life that leave you feeling some sort of emotional pain. But maybe it's also a moment where like you have to dig deep, and where you're going internally can have a wear and tear on you, but you got to go further in order to get to that answer that you need for you to reach that that ascension, or to begin that journey of improvement and ascension. So that's where the whole phrase tortured introspection comes to me. And I feel like you and I, two people that, we think a lot. You and I,
Yeah, for
our
sure.
brains beyond 100 miles an hour all the time, just thinking about our lives in the small, medium, and long term. So it's like, I feel like this phrase perfectly describes our thought process 99% of the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would second that. So let me ask you this. So I think about I guess you can call it a phrase that people say like often. So they say people who are in the know, they tend to be like the most miserable people because they can see through all of the bullshit in life, right?
Right.
So I want to know what your opinion on that is. Like, do you feel like that's a true statement? Like the more you know, the more like the more unhappy you become because of the fact that you know all the bullshit that comes with life, or you look at the person who don't they just know they place, like they know what they know and they be happy as hell. Like, do you feel like that's an actual thing, or do you feel like you can know a lot and also be happy?
Man, I'm gonna keep it a being with you. It's like you have to think about the phrase "ignorance is bliss" and whether you believe in that or not. I think honestly, to give you an answer, it's all about perspective. Like there are like the reality about Kevin Garnett has a quote. Kevin Garnett has a quote where it's like after they won the '08 championship, and he was asked about that moment. He like beyond the anything is possible. When he was asked, he said that like it happened. No matter what happens between me and these guys, we won that championship together. And it's like knowledge. Once it's obtained, it's obtained. And I bring that quote up because of the idea of ignorance is bliss, the idea that when you don't know something, life is a lot more peaceful at times, it may seem like. But I think that's also about how you feel about a lack of information. And I
Right,
will say, growing up, with the experience that we've gone through, we both young men, but we got a lot of growing to do.
right.
But we still seen a lot. We still learned a lot. We still been in the know of some things that we were shocked about. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I think it depends on your mental fortitude and also just the way you just have to look at that situation or even look at life. Because once you know something, you can't unknow it. And depending on that piece of information, that can really wear on you. But as the years have gone by, the last 4 or 5 years, I personally have I've stuck to the thought process that I rather know, and the information may not be good, but I'd rather know the truth than to not know at all. Because, as you get older, ignorance is not bliss.
That's true.
Like the lack of information leads to leaving chinks in your armor, the armor that you wear when you walk into this world in life, because information is a weapon. It is arguably the most important weapon of them all,
Absolutely.
and the weapon of advancing in your life. And when we're talking about self-actualization, to hold on to the idea that when you know less, you can end up being happier. I mean, that can be true, but those people, how far they really at in their lives, or how far they're really pushing it. Like the truth never changes. The truth is the truth. You only got to tell the truth once. But lies circulate again and again and again. You got to keep hearing them. So to be in that state, you're either never finding out the truth or you're always being lied to. And let's keep it a being. You and I both know we don't always want to be lied to, especially when we find out that we're being lied to.
Right.
So like I feel I'm going a bit on a tangent here, but to answer the question, I'd rather be in the know. Like even if it's gonna hurt, and there have been times when whether it's the most petty things, the simple things to the most complex like situations, knowing the real behind the scenes, what was really going on, I at least felt solace in the fact that all right, at least I know. At least I know. And now there's a certain type of peace that I have walking away or moving forward from this, knowing what was really going on. Because it's more bothersome when you don't know. At least for me. I feel like it does depends on your perspective of how you see life. But for me and for where, you and I talk a lot about what we want to be in life. We can't make it being ignorant. Like the lack of information leads to a sort of social death, if you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so the reason I asked that question is because, like you said, we talk a lot a lot about, like future plans and, a lot of things that we want to accomplish and, the
Mm-hmm.
steps that it takes in order for us to achieve those, those goals. That brings me to another point about, like one of the other subtopics of self-actualization, which is growth. And the reason I asked you what I asked you previously is because, I'm a proponent of knowledge reigning supreme. And the more knowledge you gain, the easier it is, or the better position you put yourself into to being able to grow the way you want to and need to.
Right.
Right. So, I I definitely feel like, having the wherewithal to be like, all right, I want to gain knowledge, even though like I'm gonna be privy to a lot of like, ills of the world, or like a lot of, BS that people do on a regular basis, which, we've all encountered, whether we know it or not. But but the fact that you are privy to it, and you allow yourself a chance to elevate above, elevate above, other people, your contemporaries, your peers. You knowing something versus them not knowing gives you the advantage.
Exactly.
So that whole growth mindset thing is something that I think, correlates very, very closely with self-actualization.
No, I agree with you 1000%. I mean, if we talking about self-actualization, which I mean you already defined it, but just
Yeah,
to recap on that, Jeff,
let's get into it,
if we
man.
talking about like fulfilling our potential, you gotta grow. Like
Hmm.
potential is a gauge on what you can be versus what you currently are.
Right.
When we want to talk about potential, like I always reflect back to my fifth grade science class. I remember I was learning about energy and how my fifth grade science teacher was talking about potential energy and kinetic energy. And our potential energy is like energy that hasn't been released yet, but can be released, can be tapped into. And the kinetic energy is the energy that's being released at that moment, that's being tapped into at that moment. So I think of growth in the same way, like this is where we are right now. We're moving. We're not stagnant. We have like a kinetic sense to ourselves right now. But the potential, maybe we're not going as hard as we can be. Maybe we're not pushing ourselves to the limit that we could push ourselves to. And that's where the potential comes in. And if you want to grow, you got to tap into that. And I feel like with growth, especially as you become young adults and you step out of all the infrastructures that we've been in, all the settings that basically prompt you to do work or do things to keep up with yourself, whether it's with your body, whether it's with school, like all the programs that you have as when we're kids. When you're an adult, like you make your own schedule. Your schedule isn't really made for you anymore. So if you want to grow, you got to keep yourself preoccupied with things that's going to force you to advance yourself. Like I'll give you an example. Like I want to be able to read 100 books next year. Like, I know we're going to talk about 2022 goals later, but that's one of my
Mm.
goals. I used to be a really big reader growing up. When I got to high school, I stopped reading like the way I used to when I was a kid. So I realized within the last couple months, like, nah, I gotta like, if I'm gonna read, no one's gonna force me. I gotta be the one reading. I gotta go buy the books. I gotta research what I want to learn. I gotta immerse myself back in the books. And that's what I did. And for the past, I want to say 2 or so months, I've been reading almost every day, 30 to 90 pages, and it's been a great experience because I'm pushing myself to grow again as a reader and reach those heights that I was once at, and then get there and then go beyond that, which goes into what we talk about the potential. Like I know what my potential is as far as the information that I can take in and what I can do with that information. And also, since I brought up the reading example, it's funny I brought it up. This is perfect. Like if you want to grow, you gotta get information. They say crazy. This phrase blew my mind when someone told it to me. The best way to hide something from a black person is put in a book.
Hmm.
Black boys read on a fourth grade level, Nick. You and I being both black men, it's important that we make sure that we tap into these resources that are right in front of us, low cost, that'll allow us to get the information that we need. The tech is great. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we can still get that same access to a lot of things through YouTube, through Google, but it's crazy how so many things are censored on the internet as well,
Yeah.
and how books still contain that. Books still have that ancient feeling to it at times, that vintage, that classic feeling to it. I'm just using it as an example overall about the topic we're talking about, but it just shows that you got to put yourself in situations and go after the tools and resources that will allow you to grow. There's no growth without effort. And I think that's something that a lot of people have misunderstood. People don't want to put in the time to grow, but they talk about wanting to grow. Doesn't make any sense. Like, you can talk all you want, but if you're not walking the walk, if you're not like making an actual effort, extending yourself to see if you can grow, you're not going to grow. You're just going to be complaining about it. And that's where you won't be fulfilling any of that potential. Self-actualization becomes, it's just not an option. It's not an option for you if you're not willing to actually put into work to grow. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, okay, so let me ask you this question then. Knowing like what kind of potential that you might have and trying to fulfill that potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance knowing what your potential could possibly be versus being like where you are currently, which is not, where you will eventually be or where you see yourself potentially being?
Recipes that hustle the great. It's a marathon, Nate. It's a marathon. And that's a great. I'm happy you asked that question because I've, you know, in moments of tortured introspection, I've
Yeah,
asked myself
right,
that question
facts.
quite a couple of times. Like, why am I not where I want to be at? You can't get there immediately. And Rome wasn't built in a day. Like, it's a building block process. It's like a foundation. You gotta lay it brick by brick. You know, you can't think that in one day, 1 week, 1 month that you're gonna make the growth that people take years, if not decades, to make. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You have to accept the fact that growth is a progress. It's a progress, but it's a process, is what I want to say. It's a process. Growth is a process. It's not this instant gratification thing like what it is with the internet and social media and how we can just binge anything we want on TV. Like, they put up whole seasons now because people's attention spans, they want the whole thing when they want it. That's not how things work. You have to accept that you have to build towards where you want to go. And it's going to take time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take resources, blood, sweat, tears. It's going to push you emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, financially, in all ways, shapes, and forms. And there might be moments where where there are setbacks. You may go up, you may take 2 steps up, take a step back, and mix and match with those patterns. Sometimes more, sometimes less, as far as distance. But you have to accept the fact that it's going to take time. And sometimes you have to just let time do what time does and goes on. Like, one thing I say to myself all the time for the last 2, 3 years is no matter what I do, time's going to go by either way.
yeah,
Like, how we say, like, damn, this work shift is going super slow. Like, I just want to get out of here. But whether you complain or not about you being at your job while you're trying to put some money away for the things you're really trying to do, the time going to go by. So you might as well focus on doing what you got to do so that you're not overwhelmed by how you measure about where you at. And I think that's where a lot of people get trapped. They get consumed by the idea of how long it's taking for them to get to where they want to go. But it's like, if you do that, you're not even going to spend any of that time on what you need to do to get to where you want to go. So not only are you wasting time, but now time's having a negative impact on your mind. So you're not only your present, but your future efforts will be lacking in general. And that's where you can shut off your growth. And you don't want to do that.
okay. So from the sounds of it, right?
Mhm.
It sounds like growth is something that we all should be aspiring to accomplish, probably more so than anything else. Would you agree? Or
I mean, Nick, let's be real. Anyone that's listening to your podcast, they want to grow. Like,
I
your
would hope
platform.
so. I would, I would,
I
I
would
would hope
hope
so.
so too. Like, your platform isn't one that promotes stagnation or
Oh yeah, not at all.
talk less about regression. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
we
Like,
keep it moving over
we
here.
not we not here for that. But let's even take it off the fact that this is your platform. Like, just on the topic, like, why not? Like, what else? Like, what else are we here for? You know, why not be the best version of you? You can be anyone in the world, including yourself. Why not be you and make that you be the best version of you possible? It's tough. It's hard. Like, I look at where I'm at today. It's 2021. we're about to go in 2020. I remember where I was at bottom of 2016, going into 2017. I'm like, damn, like
Yeah.
I'm in school. I'm trying to just get the heck out of here. Not that I didn't like school, but I was just ready to like be done and move on to the next place. And I had time. Like I still was in school for 2 years after like that point, or about almost 2 full years from this time 5 years ago. So it was like I had to accept that, yo, this is a process. And I just gotta appreciate the process for what it is and progress during that journey and take with it the gems, the tools, the friendships that I get from it. Like, let's be real. If I was so consumed about the fact that, yeah, I'm stuck here, I hate being here, you and I would have never got cool.
That's a fact.
Like, I met you through being in school. You know what I'm saying? And, we had a lot of conversations that even put us in this position to even talk about these things, So you can't, I think a lot of people are intimidated by growth because they realize it's not easy. And I think that's why, as much as your question of everyone should aspire to growth seems like such a simple answer, I think a lot of people hesitate because they're intimidated by the journey. But a lot of people need to realize that what's on the other side is better than anything that's on the side you're currently on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know I would definitely wholeheartedly agree with that. But then, I mean, just to, I guess, speak to those insecurities and fears, I would say it is like the journey is scary, like because you don't know what comes with it. Like it could be the fear of wasting time, the fear of failure, the fear of not accomplishing your goals. Like,
okay, let's talk about that real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but let's talk about that real quick because you bring up some good points. So let's talk about the fear of wasting time. All right, number one, what you gonna do with that time anyway?
That's true.
What you gonna do with that time anyway, bro? Like, what you gonna do with that time anyway? Like, I'll give you an example. When we were at undergrad, by the time you and I met, I had been there at that school for about 9 months.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I want to say I met you about 9 months in, and we got cool within the time I was there for about a year then. So, like summer, fall 2017, I had nothing to do because I was just breezing. At this point, I figured out everything. I got myself mentally together, and I was just breezing through classes. I would spend 6, 7, 8 hours a day at home just on my laptop watching anime, literally, because like I'm knocking out all my work. But I'm realizing like, yo, I need something to do because I'm gonna come out of this school eventually, and I want to come out with the grades, but just with a better skill set than what I had. Like I want to grow. Is basically what I said to myself. And I looked at what need was there at the school that I could fill in that would benefit the school, but also benefit me and lead to my growth. And that's where photography came in. The school basketball team didn't have a photographer at the time.
Right.
I didn't know how to take pictures, but I remember that my mom had a camera stashed away at the crib. I'm like, the next time I get back home, I'm gonna go grab that camera and see if I can start taking pictures for the school basketball team. Long story short, I traveled to almost every game with the squad. I got paid for it while I was learning on the fly. I wasn't even trying to get paid. They just ended up offering to pay me because they said, "Oh my God, you're doing all this work already. We didn't really budget this." Remember, dang, I'm blanking. Who was the athletic director?
We had like 3 of them.
Yeah, I'm blanking.
In my 3 years at school.
But the one that was real cool. I'm blanking. But anyway, if I remember his name, I'll bring it up. But anyway, he was real cool about it. He said, you know what? Since you've already done this much work, we can pay you this much for this many hours, and then we'll let you know when we need you. And it was the best thing for me because I started developing a skill in photography. I started like getting some extra cash. So I had a little money on campus if I needed something for myself or I need some money for my textbooks for class or whatever. And I was not wasting my time. I was actually doing something with my time. So like that whole idea of like, yo, like the fear of wasting your time, like number one, what you gonna do with that time if you're not trying to do something to better your life? Like I was using that time to get a skill that could potentially pay me in the future so I could buy my time back.
That's an interesting concept because like time is like one of those things like where we can't get it back in any capacity. So
well, you see, go ahead. Well, you see, here's the thing: it's like Why do people want to be rich, Nick? Let me ask you that question. Why do people want to be rich? Why do people want to be wealthy? Let's talk about it.
Why do people want to be wealthy?
Because when we talk about growth, they normally bring up money too. So let's bring up the money. Why people want to be wealthy?
I mean, being wealthy, that allows you a chance to have freedom in some
Freedom of
capacity.
what?
Freedom of
Freedom of
time.
freedom. That's it. People who want to reach a certain dollar amount, besides probably paying off any debts they have, because most people are in debt in the world.
Yeah.
They do it so that they have ownership over their time. If they don't want to do something, they don't got to do it because they don't have to worry about their next meal, their rent or mortgage money, the bills. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when I bring up the idea of like about questioning people who say I don't want to waste my time. Well, how's it a waste of time if what you're doing is already not productive in the first place? And not productive doesn't mean that you're regressing with the use of your time, but if you're not getting anywhere, if you're just stagnant, you're not using that your spare time to grow and do something, how are you going to be in the best position possible when you want to start pushing yourself to grow? And also the other thing is that, let's say I didn't like photography. Let's say it didn't work out. That wouldn't have been a waste of time because I still would have learned that, okay, this is not for me. That's still information. I'm still knowledgeable about something about myself. I would have learned that, okay, I know that I'm not really into this. What could I do instead with my time that I would be into? Because I like basketball and I like photography too. But what if I didn't like the photography? Well, maybe I would have wanted to get into like trying to be a part of the team, helping as a manager or something. Or I remember seeing the sports trainer with the team, helping them out, like get the trainer, making sure that they good, make sure that they healthy, that any injuries they get, they were taken care of. Maybe I would have been interested in that. Maybe I would have been interested in coaching or something. I don't know, but using that time to be involved in an activity, even if I wasn't purely interested in that, I would have at least developed a skill and I would have figured out what I did not want to do. And in my particular case, I ended up getting into portrait photography. I realized that I wasn't too big on sports photography. Basketball was cool, but I realized that what I really wanted to do was portraits. And I would have never realized that if I didn't just get up from my bed one day at 10 o'clock and say, yo, I need to do something else other than watch cartoons, anime for 7, 8 hours a day in between assignments. And I was like, you know what? Let me pick up this camera. If I never picked up the camera, like, and you've seen my photos,
For sure.
them Johns he like I cleared the whole IG off. I might have to load it back up again soon.
Oh
Let's see
yeah.
what 2022 has for us. But I would have never grown as a person and grown and developed a skill if I didn't just say, well, let me just see what I could do with my time. And then the second point you made about like the fear of the unknown, like you're always not gonna know. You can't know everything in life. Like you think about how many things there are in this world. You can't know everything.
Not
But
at all.
that's why it's important to specialize in one, two, maybe three things. Connect with people, develop a network of people that know so many different things, and build yourself up. Because here's the thing: when you grow, you're going to naturally meet other people that are on the journey of growth. You know what I'm saying? When you grow, you're going to naturally come across people like what a lot of people don't realize is that more times than not, you can't come across people that are going to help you ascend if you're not stepping out there to ascend yourself.
Right.
People think that they can stay in the same spot 24/7, 365, and that some angel of a person gonna pop and say, hey, I can help you get to this next point in your life. That's not how these things work 99.99% of the time. Like you
Mm.
gotta get up off your butt and go do something. And also you can't punk yourself out of your greatness. Like you can't punk yourself
That's a
out
great point right there.
of your greatness. Like you don't know what your potential is until you go and try to tap into it. Some people don't realize how great they can be until they actually start throwing themselves into the jungle.
Yeah.
I think a lot about I'm trying to remember the line. It's off Watch the Throne. I think Hove said, well, just walk in the jungle, just ask for Hove. And it's like, you don't know who you're gonna meet that has some pull when you go step into any arena of life. And life's all about building relationships. We're a social people by nature. How do you expect to grow if you don't set off on a journey that's going to connect you with people that will help you grow? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can confidently say that me stepping out of my shell of not wanting to be around people when I was first at college, and then meeting people like you helped me grow, because I exposed myself to people that helped me think a lot about myself while I was helping them. Like, and I know you can speak for that with our relationship. Like, we close friends. The number one reason is because of all the deep conversations we have about wanting to be better.
Mm-hmm.
But would I have experienced that with you if I hadn't said to myself, okay, I got to stop isolating myself from people. Let me go interact. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So all that fear of the unknown is like, I'm not even gonna call it an excuse, because it can be a real reason. Some people can really be like intimidated by what they don't know. But look, the people that win in this world have the information.
Yeah.
And the people that win the most have the most information. So if you are you trying to win, or are you trying to lose, is question number one. And if
Trying to
you
win,
answer
man.
if you answer no, you can just close the pod. You don't gotta listen to this no more. Like, you can just hit the pause button, turn off your phone, or go do something else, go back on YouTube, whatever you were doing, you can go ahead and do that. But if you said yes, and you're one of these people listening on Nick's podcast here, the HolloTalk Podcast, and you're one of these people that are scared about the idea of that growth, you gotta ask yourself what you're scared for. Because ultimately, if you just allow yourself to stay scared forever, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you go set yourself out, you're going to get your butt kicked a couple times by life. You're going to have some wounds, but you lick your wounds, get up, wipe your tears, and keep smack that dust off your feet, even though you still look dusty. Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Right.
And you keep walking. You're gonna have some success, and you're gonna come across people that help you. But you see, you can't get help if you don't help yourself. You can't. Like, people aren't even motivated to help people that don't even seem to have any effort or any care about themselves. You get what I'm saying? Like, no matter how nice a person someone is, most people aren't motivated to support someone that doesn't think of supporting themselves. So you just gotta change your mindset on that. Like, knowledge is power, or at least knowledge is potential power. So go acquire some knowledge so that you can tap into that potential, so that you can start growing and reach that self-actualization that we talking about. You feel me, Nick?
For sure, you dropping some bars right now.
I mean, this is just how we be chopping up in general. I'm
No,
just keeping it real
absolutely.
for the people. Like, and I understand, because I've been there. I've been afraid. But you know what I realized at one point? I realized that if I'm afraid of going forward, I'm gonna be stuck here forever.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm stuck here forever, I can't have a positive impact on all the people that I care about. And that's where the idea of a why kicks in. When you have a why as to why you want to reach that self-actualization, why you want to grow, you're going to be able to start that. The fears that are in front of you won't be stronger than you. You'll start intimidating the things that once intimidated you. So for everyone listening, you got to ask yourself a why. Why do I want to do this? And dig deep. You may not get the answer right away, but when you do, and once you have it, go for it and don't stop.
All
Go
right.
for it and don't stop.
Okay, so this brings me to another point, right? So,
Talk to me.
like, again, like you've mentioned, numerous occasions already that we generally have these conversations off the record, right? We've had these conversations for many years.
They got to be 4 years now. For
Right,
real.
about 4 or 5 years that we've had these introspective intellectual conversations on numerous occasions, right? Now, we are both young adults, I'm 23, you 24, right?
Yes, sir.
So for the average, young adult, like, again, like I like to say between 18 and 26. That's like my age range. I don't know why, but I'm just gonna say between 18 and 26-year-olds. I feel like that's, like, college students, freshmen, going up until, people that's either college graduates or, they're in they're post grad, right?
Right.
So for us, right, a lot of us don't necessarily have the mentality that me and you have when it comes to, kind of having this grasp on what we want to do, how we want to do it, or at least having the conversation about it to see if we can figure it out, right?
Okay.
So, having that having that experience, me and you both, and a few other people that we know personally, and people who we may not know, having that same kind of drive and ambition. For the people who don't have it, right? Like, how would you explain the knowledge and wisdom that we've gained versus them not necessarily having that same knowledge and wisdom to be forthgoing with trying to figure out their future plans or figure out what they want to do next?
Damn, that's a mouthful of a question, but
I
I think
know,
I can.
my bad.
It's all good. It's all good. It's how it normally be. I
No,
think I
just
can. I think I got an answer for that.
I'll try to break it down a little bit. Just what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? That's
See,
as simple
well,
as that.
I knew that's where we were going, but I really think that I can handle that question you
All
had
right.
about overcoming, that it's kind of like an anxiety about how do I basically conquer the unknown and then acquire what I need to acquire and then develop that ambition to go after what I want, what someone wants in life as far as growth and goals and all that. The first thing I'm gonna say is you got to know yourself. You got to know yourself. A lot of people don't know themselves. They think they do, but they don't. They know themselves when they interact with other people. They know themselves when they plugged into the matrix on their phone, their tablet, their laptop, their MacBooks, some tech all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They know themselves when they're on social media, but a lot of people don't really know themselves. And that may seem like a random thing to point, like, why does that matter? But like, if you don't understand yourself, if you don't know yourself, how can you know the real reasons for what you want to do, why you want to do it, and what is it that's scaring you and why are you scared of those things? You know what I'm saying? So that's number one. And it's hard to know yourself. It's hard to know yourself if you don't already. Right. It can be really hard. It's kind of like we said earlier, it's a journey. I think if you lack ambition, you got to ask yourself why. Because a lack of ambition can normally tie to something having to do about you as far as your identity. That's got to be tied to who you are. Because why aren't you interested in doing something? Like we're not naturally wired as human beings to do nothing. You feel me? Mm-hmm. Like we always move and we always doing something. So why don't you have an interest in doing anything? Is it the environment? Is it something that someone planted in your mind that had you think that, oh, you can't do it? And now subconsciously it's like, oh, I'm just not interested in doing that. But it's not that you're not interested. Deep down, you just think that you can't for whatever reason. Like, what is it about your identity, your psychological identity, that has you believe that you can't do something, or has you saying to yourself that, oh, I don't really have an interest to go achieve anything in life? Like, that's just boring. Like, life's boring if you're not doing something. And naturally, if you're doing something and you really start to see how far you can take it, you're going to have at least some sense of ambition. So I think that's the first question. Like, what is it about you that's preventing you from being ambitious? And most of the time, that's going to lead to really understand what makes you tick and what makes you talk. You know what I mean? What makes you like continuously pause and resume with your life. You feel me? And I feel like that comes from all these distractions. Like, I think I said this to you before, Nick, off the regular. People can't stand being bored.
It's not at all.
they always hate being bored. But I'm not talking about the boredom earlier where you're not being active.
Yeah.
It's the boredom that comes when like you're not connected to anything or anyone. So people gotta preoccupy themselves with distractions in the form of that friendships. Not that friendship is a distraction, that's an important thing, but people may use friendship to distract themselves. That's number one. Or they use the tools of the internet, things around them, maybe hobbies, anything to keep themselves from really being stuck with their thoughts. Because that's where the real growth comes in. That's where the real drive to do something comes. When you just stuck with your thoughts and your brain has to get creative about things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you started podcasting, that came from you thinking like, yo, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do in my life. You were ambitious about something. You were ambitious about doing something with your life. You didn't know what it was though. And you were trying to figure out, and you knew that you like talking to people, you like to have conversation, And I'm just saying, because I remember we had these conversations before you
No,
launched this job.
right.
And I remember you saying to me, it's like, or I don't know if you said it to me or just one day you said, yo, I'm gonna start podding. But it was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna just do this podcast thing. I said, for real? You said, yeah, because like, I mean, I don't know what I want it to be about, but I know that I do want to be like in broadcasting somehow. But not anyone can just get to all these broadcasting gigs so easily. But why can't I just launch my own thing?
Exactly.
And look at where you at
I know,
right
man.
now today, like all these years later, like you going somewhere, this is what you use to actually get through your life on a daily basis now.
Right.
And we all know that the HolloTalk Podcast is going to the moon, no doubt
You
about it.
already.
You already know. But that all started with you saying you being bored of being bored though. You were trying to figure out, what should I be doing? Because I want to do something in this field in my life, but I really don't know how to get there. So I'm just trying. That's another thing. A lot of people think there's got to be like a laid out blueprint. No, you just got to just start.
All right. Let me stop you real quick. So right. So you were absolutely 100% correct in what you just said, right? So like the whole idea for me to start the pod was like, damn, I just, I want to do something. Like I don't want to like, keep going through the same cycle of like trying to figure out what to do. Like let me actually like, stand 10 toes down and actually, put my feet to the fire and go forward with it, right? Mm-hmm. I always knew that, I had like these kind of conversations, like the conversation that we're having now. This is a random Tuesday, like what I mean. Like this is regular, like this is regular for us and like other people that we talk to on a regular basis. Like these are the types of talks that we have, and I just always thought that it would be dope to kind of broadcast it to other people who might not be in that circle of our group or whatever. Mm-hmm. And just kind of like put those thoughts and ideas out there because like we really have like real in-depth conversations about life, culture, music, movies, like whatever the topic is at that day, it's gonna be like a real conversation though. We're gonna debate a little bit, we're gonna laugh, we're gonna do it all.
But look at that.
Go ahead.
But look at what you just said. You look at how you like for all the listeners, I want you to peep how when he broke down everything that went into this podcast, he's really just running through everything we've talked about today. He had a moment where he was like reflecting on what he wanted to do with his life. And at moments, it was painful. It was torturous because he was like, I don't really know.
Right.
Then at some point, digging through all that pain and pushing past it, he had an epiphany that, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I know I want to broadcast. I want to speak to people. Let me try to launch a podcast. What's it going to be about? I don't even know. But I'm going to just kick it with the people that I kick it with. And we're going to record these conversations and see where it takes us. And then you start and you realize that, there's a way I can grow from this. It's going to make me more extroverted. Not that you were an introvert to begin with, but I'm sure you can speak for yourself that doing this has made you more comfortable with talking to people that you may not know too well.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. Most of the people who I talk to, outside of my real like friend group like that I've had before I started the pod, mm-hmm. Some of the people who've came on, I've like actually gained real friendships with these people. But most of the time, like the first time I talk to these people is on record. And I sit here and talk to these people for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, like I've known them for a substantial amount of time when this is our first real in-depth conversation.
And you see that that's the whole thing. Like you can't grow if you don't put yourself out there. Yeah. So you had some introspective moments that were painful. Then you had an epiphany like, yo, this is what I can do to figure out what I want to do. You start podding because you want to speak to people and mm-hmm. you want to like connect with people and share experiences. And then that lets you growing as far as being a speaker, being on a public forum. I know it's hard to have that camera rolling. I know I don't got the camera rolling today. In the future,
actually, it's not that hard. Honestly, like I'm good with it.
Was it easy in the very beginning?
I mean, kind of, sort of, like not. I don't think it was hard for me to be on camera or to like broadcast this because this is something that I was kind of sort of comfortable anyway. Like I was in drama club, I was on stages in front
Okay,
of
that's
people
fair.
and
So
all
you
that
had
kind of
some
stuff.
experience with the ads on you, but you can
Yeah.
definitely say it's gotten easier since you
No,
started.
like this is nothing now at this point. Just as long as I got a little decent fit on, my background
I feel you.
a little nice. Like I'm
Talk
cool
to
being
him.
on camera. You know what I'm saying? This isn't hard at all. But I know for some people it's challenging. This is like standing up in front of the class and having to present your project. Like public speaking
Right.
is the most scary thing to do. At least that's what the statistics say. But
Yeah. More people are scared of public speaking than dying, which is
yeah,
crazy to me because
which
I'm
is
not trying to
crazy.
die. You know what I'm
And
saying?
right,
But I feel them, I guess. I mean, you know me, I'm a public speaker, so that don't.
yeah,
But I can empathize with people being scared of that.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
like I'm saying, Nick, like through allowing yourself to really dig deep, thinking about this, what you want to do, and then stepping out, regardless of what you knew could happen, you were able to grow. You were able to gain some knowledge. And see, for everyone because you brought up the question earlier that you want to answer for people who are like afraid of wasting their time, and then the fear of not knowing. You can't know until you know.
Yeah.
How do you know if you don't know? And
Yeah, you
you
gotta shoot that
can't
shot.
for you. Thank you. You got to shoot that shot. You got to take that step forward. You got to make the leap. You got to make the leap of faith. Believe in yourself. For real, for real. Let's keep it 100. If you don't believe in you, who's going to believe in you? Very few people are going to believe and love us more than we believe and love ourselves.
Shit, to keep it real with you, very few people believe in you, even when you believe in yourself.
Exactly. So, man, that's some real talk. Now, that's a gem. That's real talk. So, it's a requirement that you got to just make the jump if you really want to ascend as a person and tap into that inner potential that is there, that is waiting for you to align yourself with so that you can grow.
Mhm.
And that brings us to the idea of knowledge versus wisdom, because now you've become knowledgeable about podcasting. You've developed wisdom, knowledge about speaking to people, like of these things, but then it's like, okay, so how do I apply it in order to advance myself, which is where the concept of knowledge versus wisdom comes in.
Yeah, so the next thing, and again, this goes right into the flow of the conversation. So the next subtopic of self-actualization is execution, being able to execute your
Oh,
plan
hold up though. Before we get into that, I don't think we defined what the difference was, because
between knowledge and wisdom.
yeah. So
Oh,
let's touch on that
all
real
right,
quick,
all right.
because that'll lead to execution. But
Got you.
I think people end up like you use the words interchangeably, or they try to make it to seem like, oh, wisdom is like a step above knowledge, which it can be, but they're never clear on what the difference is. So let's talk about it. So like, and I'm gonna use you as an example. In your journey of podcasting, you've acquired knowledge on how to record a pod,
Right.
how to interview, how to connect with the people. Like, you've acquired the information to run a good pod. But you're trying to reach a point where you become an expert and advance yourself. That's where wisdom comes in. So let's talk about it. Knowledge is I break down knowledge. I break down words into what they actually are, if I can. Like, what is the original of this word? So you look at the word knowledge, it's from two words, know and ledge. Well, we know the word what it means to know something.
Yeah.
And when people think of a ledge, they may think of like being on the edge of something. But I take that from the word ledger, like they just dropped the R at the end. And a ledger is just a list of things. It's just a list.
Right.
So knowledge is knowing of a list of things, particularly of a certain topic or area of study, So
Yeah.
you've become, and I know you'd be like researching and watching other podcasts to figure out how to
Oh
grow.
yeah, for sure.
You're knowledgeable about podcasting. You know things about what it means to podcast. You know things about what it means to grow your podcast, like, and you've been in the trenches with it for real. You've gotten dirty when you had like only 5 plays to the number of plays you got today. Like, you had to acquire information and add it to your list of information to push it forward. Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge in order to live life skillfully. If we want to apply that to podcasting, wisdom is going to be ability to apply that knowledge in order to advance this podcast to a point where it's like, on some global type of time. Like, you're not settling with where you're at now. So wisdom is evidence of growth. It's evidence of reaching self-actualization. Wisdom is applied knowledge. There is no wisdom without experience.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you like, let's say you knew about all the things you know about podcasting now, but you never recorded a pod.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter what I knew.
Yeah, you just know what a podcast is, how to record one, but you've never actually done anything so that you can learn from that and expand on it. So, so like, knowledge is just, and that's why I said earlier, knowledge is potential power. You can know something, but if you don't utilize what you know, what's the point? Like, if
There you
life is
go.
if life is about information, and you have the information that gives you an edge, but you don't take advantage of your edge, what was the point of having the edge in the first place?
Exactly.
That's where people say you smart for nothing. We've heard that before as youngins.
For
Like,
sure.
man, this fool smart for nothing. This guy's smart, but he a dummy. Like, as kids, we heard that, but when you grow up and look back on those little things, you realize that the adults were telling us, like, you know so much, but you're not making use of it to advance your life. Like, being on this journey, you're using podcasting to advance your life. Like, on a deeper level, like on the service level, podding something that you like to do. It helps you take care of yourself, pay the bills, help your family.
Right.
We just need to get you some more sponsorships for real talk for the pod, you know what I'm saying? But on a deeper level, you maximizing the information that you have access to in this information era that we were born into, essentially, because we were kids when the internet really started popping off. And we were like still youngins when social media started being a tool to connect with the world. Like Twitter dropped in 2007 and it really ain't pop off to 2010, 2011 for real. Like, we were in high school in 2011, 2012. So it's like, we're in an era where we have so much information which we can become knowledgeable about, but if you don't apply it in order to advance your life, why are you here? What you here for? And now that walks us into execution. So I'm gonna let you lead that before we continue on there.
No, so I mean, you basically just defined what at least I think execution means in the grand scheme of achieving self-actualization. You having a plan or idea, and you taking the steps to implement it and essentially execute it. I do think, like, a certain level of discipline is required to achieve that self-actualization, because it's easy to get distracted and it's easy to get driven off of your path.
100%.
But having that discipline, and again, that's something that we talk about a whole lot. That's probably the number one thing we talk about, honestly, is staying disciplined, staying 10 toes down, and staying in the game, so that way when it's time for you to execute, you ready to do it.
Right.
You're not looking around saying, "Oh shit, what I do next?" Or like, "Oh damn, it's my time to shine now. Oh, I'm not ready." Like, no, we ready to roll, and we ready to make it happen as soon as it's our time to shine. And having that certain level of discipline allows you, one, the ability to feel confident in doing it, and also the ability to feel comfortable doing that, being comfortable in that uncomfortable position, like, because a lot of people are uncomfortable when it's showtime, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, think about all the professional athletes that we look up to. Think about, like, our favorite basketball players. You and I both love basketball. Like, the best athletes aren't afraid of the moment because they prepare for that moment their entire lives. So that when it's time to execute, they prepared. And that's the thing. Like, you have to step out there and get your practice in, get your reps in. Like, people are consumed by fear due to a lack of knowledge and application of said knowledge. Like, people normally fear what they don't know, but if you know something and then start to use what you know, what's there to be afraid of? Because now you know something. Now it's okay. Let's say I'm trying to be a good writer. I'm afraid of writing. Maybe my goal is to write a novel one day. Now you're afraid of writing a whole novel. Well, you're not supposed to write the novel in one day.
Right.
Start by writing a page a day. Write a paragraph. Like, figure out what you want to write about. Practice. Get the reps in. Like execute though. Don't be, some people are so paralyzed by their fear, or they're paralyzed by what they call analysis paralysis, where they take in so much information, but they don't act on it. So their fears just get bigger. But you gotta execute. You gotta actually make something shake. You're like, you gotta bust a move. You don't bust a move. You're stuck in place. And at some point, you become frozen. Like you're just not gonna be stuck in place and be able to move. At some point, you're not gonna be able to move because you wasted too much time and so many outside factors that are around you, surrounding you and whoever's around that you're trying to like compete with, maybe it may not be affecting them because they put some work in, but you haven't put any work in. You know, the best way to conquer fear is to put some work in. You're not putting any work in. No wonder why you're afraid of everything. You shaking in your boots because all you've done is shaking the boots. You haven't moved.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it really comes down to making an effort to make an effort. Because people want to talk about, yo, this is what I want to do. I got all these ideas. Well, have you started? Said, nah, I'm waiting for it to. I'm waiting for an XYZ person to connect with me. I'm looking for such things to work out. I'm waiting for the perfect moment. Like, there's no such thing as a perfect moment. Usually, you got to make the moment. The moment's not made for you. You feel me?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So it's like if you're just stuck waiting for the conditions to be perfect. Oh, it's 70 degrees with a slight breeze. I'm moving at northwest at, like, man, shut up. Like the weatherman, the weatherman not gonna hook it up for you. You gotta figure that stuff out. Like, go,
Yeah,
go, go. Like when you started this, and I keep coming back to you because I feel like you're the perfect example. When you started this podcast, I remember the equipment you had. Was it the best equipment in the world?
nah,
Do you got the best equipment in the world now?
nah.
You still recording, right?
Yeah,
You still reaching out to people, right?
for sure.
You didn't have any connections. You were reaching out to people in Griselda just
Yeah,
off IG, and it
right.
worked, didn't it?
Yeah,
You got touch with some people. Like you gotta just hit the go button. You gotta hit the mental go button in your head. Just go. Like people just want things to be laid out for them. Like no, like you want to eat, but you want everyone to make your plate. That's not how it works. It don't matter how good you are at cooking or not. You better go in the kitchen, make it work, put something together. Like, I don't care what it is, but if you're trying to get somewhere, you can't just be focused on waiting for everything to be perfect. Because number one, life not perfect. Number two, humans aren't perfect. So therefore, no situation is truly ever going to be perfect.
mm-hmm.
You just got to go. Hit that go button. And as you go, things will connect. But nothing can get going if you don't get going.
Yeah,
Or even worse, if you don't get going and things start to move, you didn't put yourself in a position to actually take advantage of the fact that now conditions are changing around you that could benefit you if you have put some time in. It's
yeah,
like the idea of when they always tell successful people, oh, they got lucky. He's a genius. She's the most brilliant person on this topic. Of course she would have gotten this far. They didn't start out this way. Like they tapped into something, or they didn't even know what they were tapping into, but they figured it out. Like you don't get lucky most of the time. You make your luck. And for real, luck is just opportunity intersecting with your dedicated efforts that you've been pushing forward.
yeah,
That's all it is. So people can get lucky all the time, but if you're not prepared to take advantage of your lucky moment, you'd be lucky for nothing. And that might be even more painful than just never getting that lucky break in the first place. You
it's
feel you feel me?
it's nothing. It's nothing worse than squander potential, squander talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like knowing it was in your hands and you didn't do anything with it. Me personally, I don't feel like it's anything, anything more painful than that. Just like as the person being in that situation, like
Right.
you always want to try to move forward with the times. Try to be in position to move along as things move along, and you not putting in work, you not staying dedicated, disciplined, which is why, I try to preach discipline along with the execution. Like if you're going to execute something, you got to also, do it with a certain level of discipline. Because like I said, people, I'm like, even with podcasting, like, you was bringing me up a lot, use me as an example. Like I'll just use the whole podcasting thing as an example, and me included. Like it's a lot of people who do podcasts, or a lot of people who have done podcasts, started podcasts. Not many people have been consistent with it though. Yeah,
Right.
a lot of podcasts have came and went. You know what I mean? Or like just businesses in general. But
Well, I
here I
mean,
am, season 3, I'm about to walk into
right.
season 4.
Exactly. Like, well, number one, I'm happy you brought up that consistency thing. A lack of consistency leads to the death of dreams, all dreams.
Yeah.
And this is where the conversation of, I'm happy you're bringing up in this execution talk, the idea of discipline, because this is where the idea of discipline versus motivation comes in.
Yep.
Everybody wants to be motivated, and there's nothing wrong with being motivated at the start, but motivation is temporary. Discipline is forever.
Yep.
If you would allow it to be. You can't be motivated all the time. Why? You're not always going to be in the best headspace to feed off of motivation.
Yeah, we've all been there.
We've all been, you telling. We've had these talks. You know how it goes, but you just not. But if you become disciplined, if it just becomes second nature, if it becomes instinctual, habitual to do what you got to do to get to where you need to go, you're going to get there at some point because the consistency is on the ball. It's on the mark. But you can't be consistent just being motivated. There are very few people who can tap into motivations for extended periods of time. That's number one. Very few people.
Yeah.
And chances are, if you're listening, you're not one of those people. Heck, the people that you listening to, I mean, I'll speak for me. I won't speak for you, Nick. I know that I can't last off motivation for a long time. It's never worked. It's never really worked. Like the last time that I was really motivated, I leveraged that into becoming disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's certain things that I used to not do all the time that I do consistently to get to where I need to go. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Absolutely.
number one. And then the other thing is like, discipline is all about embracing a regimen, embracing the everyday actions, from the big to the small things that come with the journey of whatever you're trying to do. Like, I know you've had your weeks where you don't really feel like recording an episode. And you and I talk all the time about how, man, I got to find someone to record for this week.
Yep.
I don't got any guests. Like something happened to someone, and now I got to make it. Now I got to figure it out off the fly. And it's like, dang, Nick is really disciplined. That's what I'd be saying to myself, because
and I wound up making it happen, bro. I put out an episode every week.
Hey, but you can't be Mr. Make It Happen if you're not disciplined to go figure it out.
That's a fact.
Like you're not giving up on yourself. That's another thing. You're not saying, oh, I can take it off. I can take off this week. There are no off days. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant's like a Mamba mentality. There are no off days. Like, we really here to better our lives and better ourselves. You can't do that if you take it easy on yourself. Like, people call themselves diamonds but don't want to put any pressure on themselves. What you talking about? For real, like, what we really here to rap about? Let's keep it 1,000 today, Nick.
Hey, I'm here, bro.
People pitch themselves as the best thing since sliced bread, as this sparkling jewel, but you're not doing what you need to do to become that for real, and demonstrate it. Like, everyone can talk a storm, but can you walk through that storm you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
That's a
fact. And that's where the discipline, the execution, the consistency comes in. And when we talk about going back to this whole idea, like, the whole point is like about self-actualization. We trying to tap into our potential, or figure out our talents, apply ourselves, and be driven and in the moment with everything, so that we can reach a certain sort of fulfillment in life. Like, there's no point in living if we don't at least, ascribe to get to that. The goal is to try to see if we can do it, because life's hard. But if you're actually trying to see if you can do it, why aren't you doing the things that'll put you in the position to actually do it and achieve it? So you got to be driven. The world, the people that inspire us the most, the people that change the world, they were the ones that were crazy enough to do it. But all that idea of being crazy is they just believe that they could do something, and they didn't stop until they did it. And the reason why they didn't stop is because they wired themselves to never stop. You know, Bad Boys, shout out to Diddy, can't stop, won't stop. It's really that simple. But that's real talk, and that's what, you know, that's what you've lived your life, especially these last 4 years. You know,
Yeah,
I'm really proud of you, Nick.
appreciate
Like
you, bro.
to see where you've grown. Like I remember 4 years ago, and
It was
I
a different
mean,
situation.
you and I were stressing every other day,
Yeah.
and then we both just realized that, bro, let's just go to work. We just here playing 2K, whining about life. 2K cool, but we need to be doing. Like, let's go figure something out. And then we started figuring something out. Now I'm doing what I'm doing, you doing
Yeah,
what you're doing, and we both thankful for where we are, but we know we can take it another couple levels. And we're gonna
absolutely.
do that because we among the discipline, we among the consistent, we
Proud of
among
you
the
too, man.
executors. I appreciate it, man. You know, the only way from here is up.
Oh yeah, you know it's only up from here.
It's only up. The
That's,
sky's not
now,
the sky's not the limit. That's the floor. That's the basement for where we going.
yo, so okay, so I like that whole last portion of that of the conversation.
hmm
It goes, you know, a smooth transition into the next subtopic, right?
hmm
So that is protecting your energy, right?
Oh man.
I listen.
Oh man.
I know. It's about to be one of those.
Let's talk about it.
So the whole idea of protecting your energy, right? Like I know you just said that, you know, people talk about being diamonds, like, you know, diamonds are made under pressure, right? But it comes a time where, you know, the pressure becomes too much. You put too much pressure on yourself. You put too much of a heavy workload on your shoulders.
hmm
You know, you start feeling the pressures of, you know, the people that you represent, or the people that you're trying to do it for, other than yourself, of course.
Mm.
um like, how would you suggest that people protect their energy, especially in the times that we at now? Like, it's, you know, energy is along with time the top currency that you got.
Oh man. All right. So I've been. This is where I really have
Ah,
some fun
yeah,
chopping it
I
up because
already know.
you already know about my protect the energy bag. But let's get into it
Uh-huh.
for real, bro. You gotta start by first of all, you gotta ask yourself, am I protecting my energy? That's the very first question. If we're gonna talk about protecting your energy, you gotta ask yourself if you're actually doing that.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, if the answer is no, which I think we all slip up on protecting our energy once in a while, so there's no
Right.
judgment here. So let's assume the answer is no. Why is it that you're not protecting your energy? What is that? What is it that you're doing? Or what is it that you're allowing or tolerating that leads to you not protecting the energy? So let's dig deeper about that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people aren't careful with who they let into their space.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't careful about what spaces they step into. You know, you know, the most powerful, the most influential thing on us human beings is our environment. It doesn't matter what's inside of you. If the environment does not promote you to tap into those things inside of you that you're trying to like bring out into the world, you're not going to productively do those things, if do them at all. The environment has the greatest impact on our actions, our behaviors, our thoughts, our interactions, our feelings, everything. The environment impacts everything. Like nothing is more impactful than the environment. Where this comes in with protecting your energy, a lot of people either are stepping into environments that are not conducive to their growth and development, or they're not protecting their own personal environment and they're allowing people to enter and exit that environment, taking things of tangibility away from them that are draining them out. Like, I'll give you an example. Um, I had a friend, I'll keep it anonymous, of course, because we're
Yeah.
not putting people's business out there. I have a friend, and this friend of mine, you know, they're in a tough spot in their life right now. And they reached out to me at one point because like, yo, Mike, I don't really know why this isn't going the way I want it to go. I said, all right, break it down to me. What's going on? They explained to me the situation. the first question I asked them once they gave me the whole laydown was, are you in the environment that's going to promote you to do things that you need to do? And it's like, they're like, what you mean? I'm like, and I said to them, are you in the proper environment that's going to let you focus on what you need to do? And as we started breaking down their environment, there was like, I'm not. Certain people that I'm interacting with, I shouldn't be giving them that much time. And you see, and this is a perfect segue into the idea of protecting your time. To protect your energy, you got to protect your time. If you letting people be time suckers, time wasters, draining you, then not only are you already low on energy, but you don't even have enough time to recover from how they drained you to then go back and do what you wanted to do. And that's where the concept of lost opportunity comes in, because the time and energy you spent towards one thing could have gone towards something else. Mm-hmm. So even when you get back to that starting point, you still have that gap of what you could have done to get to that other thing that you're supposed to be doing. So when I think about protecting my energy, for me personally, you know me, I'm really good at isolating myself.
Yeah.
It's not like, I'm not saying to anyone listening, go ghost on the homies, disappear from all your homegirls, disappear from all your friends, but you have to know when to pull back and then when to push yourself in. You have to know. You have to know when to plug in out of the matrix, for example. You have to know when to tap in and out with the reality of your surroundings. Because if you're already in an environment, and let's say it's not a negative environment, it could be a positive environment with good people, but they may not be on the type of time you want as far as what you want to do with your life. You got to remove yourself from that environment so that you can focus on what you want to do. Like, let's say you got a couple cool friends, but you normally get together with them to lay back and just kick it, just to blow some steam off or just to cool off from like whatever you've been doing. If you're spending all your time with them, you're not spending your time and your energy towards what you got to do for your own progression. So protecting your energy really starts with analyzing the environments that you step into and the things that step into your own environment. If you have invaders, that's what we'll call them for the sake of this conversation. If you have invaders stepping into your space, taking up your time, your money, your resources, your energy, you can't even focus on what you got to do, because now you got to focus on pushing these people out. And some people don't want to leave easily. You know what I'm saying? I know you've experienced it. Right. Some people that walk into your life, they don't just walk out smoothly. More times than not, you got to finesse for moving them out. And you and I both know.
Yes.
We won't get into it, but you and I both know about that. And that's, even though when you're successful with that, it can leave quite an exhausting mark on you. So you got to be careful with that. And then got to be careful where you take yourself. You can't be everywhere. I see a lot of people always trying to be involved in the action. Like, for what? Like, why? Do you have to do this in order to get to what you need to get to? And then they'll be like, well, no, but I just want to, kick it. It's like a lot. And this comes back to the idea of like people needing to distract themselves to not be bored. Mm-hmm. And to not be bored and to prevent themselves from really thinking. But you got to be bored. You got to put yourself in that position to like be alone with your thoughts so that you can probably execute. And if you don't want to be alone, that's fine. Be in the environment with the people and things that are going to promote the goal that you have for yourself. Because you don't got to isolate yourself if you're in the right environment, or you can cultivate the right environment. But if you can't build one or go to one, you need to take some alone time, take some time off from people to get yourself right. I remember there was a point back when we were in undergrad, I would go some people for like, it was 11 weeks. It was 11 weeks. And I might go ghost for 7 out of nowhere, 5. Like at least half the term. Be like, yo, Mike, where you been? I've been getting my work done so I can pass these classes. I don't know where you've been. No, I do, because he posted on social media, but I ain't gonna say nothing about that.
All right.
But I gotta get my work done. Like, and that's all about having that tunnel vision, that focus. You can't let people pull you off from what you're doing. Like, you on these train tracks in this train that's trying to get you to that destination, don't get off 3 stops early to go mess around and do something, because the next train might not be arriving at a certain time for you to get to where you need to be by a certain time. You feel me? Like,
I do.
time's a waste, and like the clock's ticking every second. And you don't need to be overwhelmed by that fact, but you need to be cognizant of the fact that you shouldn't be spending time for sake of wasting time. Like the whole point of us doing what we're doing, we're spending time to get it back. We're trying to leverage our time. We're leveraging our future time to be credited time in I messed that up. We're leveraging our present time to be credited future time. You feel me?
Yeah.
But some people spend their future time, their present time, and then got to get a loan on their future because they mismanaged their time. So now you didn't use your time properly at the beginning because you weren't protecting yourself from people, things, and environments that didn't allow you to function properly. And now you against the clock.
Yeah. That's a conversation I like my dad be talking to me about.
Go ahead. I was gonna ask you a question, but go ahead.
No. I was just saying that sounds like the conversations me and my father be having.
Shout out to Boss.
For sure.
I was gonna ask you, how do you protect your energy? For me, like I don't know if I kind of went on a tangent. So the answer,
you good, the question, bro. You good.
I just basically keep myself away from the people when I know I gotta focus, and I don't let certain things enter my environment that's gonna drain me, my resources, my energy, and all that, my focus. But how do you protect your energy?
How do I protect my energy? I mean, most of the time, I try to disconnect. I try to isolate because like I do this shit all day. Like if I'm not on the pod, I'm on the phone talking to people. Right. So like I'm always like having some type of social interaction, and for sure that can be that could be a way of like decompressing, if you will, like depending on what the conversation is, or who I'm talking to at the time, or whatever the case may be. That could be looked at as a time of decompression. But when I do run out of that social meter, if you will, I just decompress, kind of like lock into my music, listen to my music, and just try to not think about shit. not think about what's going on. Just kind of get lost in my own little world. And then once I get back, I'm back and I'm ready to roll again.
Okay. So then let me ask you this, because we're talking about how to protect your energy.
Yeah.
But it's not a simple thing.
Not at all.
What are some of the challenges that have come with protecting your energy, and how have you overcome those challenges?
Not feeling bad for trying to protect it.
Oh wow. Okay.
What I mean by that, to kind of put it in simple terms is like when you try to separate yourself from that social life, if you will, or just like whatever like whatever kind of thing you got going on, you just take yourself out of that equation and you just try to be on your solo dolo. Some people might look at you like, yo, like what's like how you said, yo, Mike, where you been at, man? Like,
right.
like you don't fuck with me no more. What's going on? And it's not even about you, bro, or sis. Like it's not at all. Like I still love you. I still care for you. Like I just need to take some time for myself and get myself right. So when I do come back, I'm able to give you the energy that you're accustomed to, and and make you feel comfortable and normal, like how we would normally chop it up. I can't give you that if I ain't got no energy to give. You feel me?
Dang, yeah, that last part. I can't give you something if I got nothing to give. That's real. I definitely feel that, but let's push it. Let's push it a little deeper with the idea of like fighting, like handling this. So you and I are very similar about the idea of like we're gonna pull back.
Yeah,
we're gonna pull away from the crowd, go to our little corner, get into our personal zone, physically and mentally and spiritually, in order to start reflecting on things that we've done, think about things we need to do, and then action plans to execute before we step out and execute. But what about when you're trying to protect your energy and you can't isolate, or maybe you've isolated And now that you're stepping out, you gotta be confronted with things that are gonna try to distract you, derail you. How do you handle it then? Because it's easy to pull back for people like you and me. It's easy to pull back when we know how to pull back.
Yeah.
But once we step in and now we gotta fend off all these distractions and all these people that like not even trying to be distractions, they are directly opposing us. How have you handled those situations?
Uh, so so I got like straightforward answers, then I have like, expanded answers. So
Give
the
it to
the
me.
the straightforward answer is I always got music playing in my ears, like always. Like
Hey
that,
yo.
like just straightforward, like that's how I get through like life. Like
Okay.
I listen to music 25/8, 24/7, whatever you wish to call it.
Okay.
Like I always got music playing. So that way, like even if I'm still engaged with you and I'm talking to you, or I'm engaging in social activity, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always able to have my little world going on also. Like I got my music playing, so like I could just transport myself like to some degree into that little world and out of reality and just all the BS that's going on or whatever. Uh Outside of that, um like I kind of just try to keep a good spirit and keep a good faith, believing in God and just staying prayed up, bro. Like you and I both, again, like we're very similar on that aspect as well. Um
Right.
and I don't know if I can like really go into detail or whatever about like how that affects me or how that protects me, I should say, because I'm not, I don't have the answer. Sorry.
Okay.
But all I know is that walking in faith like that, it allows me the capacity and the strength to continue on even when I deal with people who aren't on that type of time.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate your answer. That's real. I think for me, I've figured out how to diffuse situations when people take it personally. Because you brought it up earlier, like it's not about you. Like
Yeah,
when
not
people
at
are like,
all.
"Yo, why aren't you kicking it with me? Like, what happened to us?" Like, it doesn't have anything to do with you. We still cool, or maybe we not. But even if we weren't, it's not really about you. It's about me focused on me. And some people get uncomfortable when you're focused on self.
Right.
Not only does like their ego crave the attention, but I think in my experience, I've noticed that people become insecure about their place
Self-conscious.
in like that self-consciousness in a negative fashion though.
Mm-hmm.
That their insecurities about where they're at in life and them seeing you start to figure out where you're at and how you're going to get to the next place in your life makes them question themselves. And instead of trying to figure out, okay, so what can I do to be like them in my own way and try to figure out for me, there's like a jealousy that
Mm-hmm.
that grows towards you. And
Yeah.
then next thing you know, that's when now as someone who may have had love for you or cherished you consciously or subconsciously, now they against your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And now you got to actually protect your energy for someone that you were rocking with that you just pull away
Right.
from just for yourself because now that you step back out here and they see what you're doing, they're like, oh no, I got to ask this person down. And it's real crazy dealing with that. So I think for me, I figured out how to like get away from people, like, or walk away from like entire friendships. Sometimes you gotta let it go. Like people, because I think, and I don't think we've really talked about this yet, so it's a good thing to bring this up. As you're tapping into your full potential, some people are gonna leave your life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just can't hang. They can't keep up with your pace. And if you slow up for them, you're not going to get to where you need to go. And that's going to drive you to feel some type of inner turmoil that you don't want
Let
to
me
experience.
let me intervene real quick and ask a question.
Go for it.
So I feel like I've like talked about this specific thing on the pod before, but I haven't
Okay.
talked to you about it on the pod before. So let's get
Okay.
into it a little bit,
Let's do it.
and then we'll get back on track with what you was just saying.
1000%. Let's go.
So being a person, and I'm speaking in general, like for people who are like this. So like being a person that thrives off of social interaction with people, right?
Mm,
Friendships and relationships that they've built over time, and that's how they, that's how they get through life. That's how they, feel accomplished and, achieving goals and this, that, and the third. Knowing that you can't move with everybody or everybody can't go with you, how do you feel as a person who wants to bring everybody along, even though you can't do it?
Damn, that's a question. You know what's crazy about you asking me that?
What?
In the past, it's December 2021. I
Mm-hmm.
could say in the past 16 to 24 months, let's say a year and a third to 2 years, I've experienced things that have led me to the conclusion that I don't want to bring everyone along. Like, I'm off that now. Let me talk a bit about that though.
Yeah,
Let
go
me make
ahead,
sure,
get into
let me
it.
that's not, I can't just leave it at that because I gotta make sure it makes
No,
sense.
right.
Like, I can't try to uplift you at the cost of sabotaging myself. Like, if you're gonna protect your energy, you can't be self-sabotaging. And I can't afford to self-sabotage me by helping you. And that's what happens. Some people, and you're helping them, you're hurting yourself, whether that's by they're taking up too much of your time, or emotionally it's just driving you to a place where it's like really exhausting and it's painful for you, or physically you just can't do much for yourself anymore because you literally burnt out and you just laid out on the couch or better floor after a days of helping them or dealing with their problems, and they're not even dealing with yours most of the time. They're not helping you handle yours. Like,
Right.
you can't, it's really, really hard to go harder for someone than they're going for themselves and be okay. I don't even know if it's possible, honestly. Like, at the end of the day, what do we know? Neither one of us are even at 25, 30 years old yet. So maybe there's something that we're going to figure out. But I've been through enough experiences the last 2 years to lead me to the fact that I just want to leave people alone at a certain point. Like, and also, everyone who's your friend, when it comes down to it, when it matters most, may not really be your friend. Or some people may not be built to be your friend anymore after a certain point. Like, they can be your friend at your current level, but they may not be able to be your friend as you take it up a couple of notches. And that's what I realized. I remember I was having a conversation with someone, and they were talking to me about how, like, they look up to me. And I thought that was a really weird statement for them to say because we were the same age. I'm like, what is it? Like, we on the same plane as far as I was concerned. Like, why do you look up to me? And they brought up to me how, like, that, how we got, you and I talk about this a lot with code of ethics, our own rules for how to live life, our
Yeah.
morals, principalities.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought up how they had never, this particular person I'm talking about, they said to me, I've never come across somebody who's so strong in their morals and is so ambitious. Like, I was like, really?
It's a hell of a
Because, like,
compliment.
because it's like, it is, but it's like, it also wasn't that believable to me at first.
Of
Because
course,
it's like,
it's never believable to the person that's getting it
well,
said to.
that's true, because people like you and me, we get a little bashful to some of the compliments. But
Yeah.
also, it was like, I legit couldn't believe that they were saying that, because it's like, there's 8 billion people in this world.
Yep.
I'm not the only person that's ambitious.
Right.
Like, and you're not from a small town, you're from a big city. So I know that you've had to have met somebody, but they straight up told me, like, nah. And I was just like, I have to take that in for a moment. And beyond being appreciated of the compliment, now I'm just thinking about, so what type of people do you keep around? Or what type of people have you come across? And there's nothing wrong with that, because people can come out of wherever they're at and grow and then develop, and then, their circles change. But then that led to me reevaluating the circle of people that I was kicking it with a lot at the time, because that was one person who told me that, who was a part of this circle of people who I was super tight with. But what I realized that over time is that even though these people were good, they weren't good for me. Someone can be a good person, but that doesn't mean they're good for you. They're not good for where you're at now, and they're definitely not good for where you're going. They may be in your life to teach you a lesson, not to be a fixture, not to be a permanent friend. That's number one. And then some of the people that are around, they're around to get something from you, not to give anything. They're leeches. The relationship is parasitical in nature. They're draining you, but they're not trying to fill you with anything. and you got to get away from those people. And the last couple of years have taught me, like, I used to be like that. You brought up the question you asked was like, how do you deal with like wanting to bring everyone around, wanting everyone to go, but not everyone can go. And the last couple of years have shown me that I don't even want to try to bring everyone to go. I don't do that much explaining anymore. Like, I'm talking a lot. We
No, you're
bonding though.
good. Yeah,
And
you're
you know when
good,
we
bro.
when we talk, when you and I have our typical conversation, we get deep like this, think about like the people around us that we would love to see with us. And for me, Nick, I'm at the point where it's like, look, I'ma just go. I don't really got a plan. And even if I got a plan, it may not be the best plan, but I'm gonna figure this out. You don't gotta come for the ride. Because I know I'm gonna get to the finish line whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not. And I know I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna get there. It's your choice, what you want to do. And if you need some help with your journey, I'm down to help you if you're willing to put in the work. But besides the lack of patience that I've developed for people who aren't interested in putting in any work, I legit don't got the time. I'm doing too many things. Like, I work, but I'm not working. I'm figuring out ideas for businesses. When I'm not doing that, I'm spending time with my family. I'm the oldest sibling. Like, my siblings are looking up at me, asking me for help with things. You know, I'm holding it down here at home. Like, I'm doing my part the way that you doing your part. You know, like I got my role in my family and with the people who are my close friends who I'm currently tight with. Like, I don't really got the extra energy or time to expand on you if you're not willing to put in the work. And also, everyone, like, we see it a lot on TV shows and read it in like books and manga and all types of media, all types of entertainment content about the idea of like, it's so cool to like get there with the crew. Or when you hear rappers say, yo, it's lonely at the top, or it's not lonely if you bring the whole gang along. But it's like, how many people forget about being able? How many people are willing to do what you're willing to do?
Yeah.
You know, like, I only got a couple friends. Like, the last couple of years, the friends have dropped off, and I've been thankful because it showed after the initial gut punch. It showed me that, okay, that was a gut check. I'm just letting you know that, hey, they not your friend, or hey, they your friend, but at some point they're not going to be your friend no more. You know, so I'm thankful that at this point, all the people that would have held me back from where I'm at today, those relationships crashed and burned a good year to 2 years ago. You know, like, everyone can go, and that's mainly because everyone isn't willing to go. Because if you're unable, we can figure out how to make you able. But you can't force someone to be willing. They got to figure that out themselves. And if they can't, you got to let them go and go do your own thing.
All important points, all true points at that. So we got a couple more subtopics.
Let's talk about it. We here.
A couple more. So the next one is the power of now, being present, right?
Okay.
You know, the idea of you know, making the most of the time that you have that's in front of you.
Right.
You know, that in correlation with self-actualization, I want to, you know, open up the conversation, and just get a sense of what that means in order to achieve self-actualization, the power of now. You know, knowing that the actions that you do now affect what your future looks like, which is another subtopic that we'll get into. But you know, just that idea of the power and importance of the time that's in front of you, which is now.
Right. Well, a lot of people, we're talking of like self-actualization is a journey. And
Right.
a lot of people get caught up on different parts of the journey. A lot of people, while they're walking forward, they're too caught up in looking back on their past and what happened. And some people haven't made peace haven't found closure with certain things that happened to them before they got to where they got to. Even if they've gotten past it physically, they're not past it emotionally. They're not past it mentally, maybe not even spiritually. And then you have people that are too caught up in the future. And I used to be like that a lot, especially 3-4 years ago. I
Me
was
too.
so future oriented, thinking about, dang, I need to do this. I need to get to this point. I need to make sure by this is I reach that. I need to make sure that I have X amount of dollars in my savings account in my bank or invested by the time I'm 27, 20 years old, and so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. But if you're thinking too much about what has already happened and what has yet to happen, you can't focus on what is happening now. And that's where tapping into the power of now comes into play. Because here's the thing, the past is dead and the future has yet to be born. So what you left with? You got to take advantage of the current moment so that you can vindicate yourself for what has and hasn't happened in your past, and so that you can bring to life the future that you desire to have. But if you too caught up in the backwardness or forwardness of your position or from your position, you can't actually navigate in your current position. Like, life got better for me when I just focused on the moment. Should you have a goal to reach eventually? Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Should you want to project for yourself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years ahead in the future? Whatever you can handle, sure. Maybe you just trying to figure out the next week. Everyone's got their own pace. But at the same time, don't become overwhelmed by what you want to achieve. Like, it's important to be goal oriented, but if you're too focused on what the results of that goal could be and not on how to get to that end point, you're never going to get there, and you're going to feel a certain type of pain for never getting there. And then if you're too keyed in on the past, which you can't change, there's nothing you can do about what happened. Like, Nick, it don't matter how many prayers you and I throw out. We can't ask God to take us back to 12/28/2021. We can't get the
Mm-hmm.
last 24 hours back. Talk to us about the rest of this year. 2021 is over. Like, we recording this pod right now. It's 9:35 Eastern Standard Time. We got less than 2.5 hours till it's the 30th.
Right.
Like, and then after the 30th, we got New Year's Eve and the year over.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday morning gonna come and it's gonna be New Year's, and that's it. And that it is it what it is. We gotta accept that. Like, no matter what you've done, for anyone listening out here, if your 2021 hasn't been what you wanted it to be, all right then. You got some sitting down to do. You got some thinking to do. But don't sit down and wallow in the despair of thinking, man, I didn't do A, B, C, D, and I couldn't achieve X, Y, and Z. Like, now, okay, now that you know better, what are you going to do about it? Like, you know what happened. You know what didn't happen. You're not happy with the results. What are you going to do now, the present moment, to build towards the future? And you see, another thing with the focusing too much on the past is, if you don't like what happened in the past, use your present to overcome that. Like, I've had some failures that I can't unwrite. I can't take them off my personal record. Even if I'm the only one that sees and knows of this record, I can't take it off. But what I can do is focus on the things that today will get me to a tomorrow where those records are no longer blemishes. They're no longer stains. They're just a blimp on the list of things that you did and didn't do. And the things that you eventually figured out and you achieved, surmount and cover up and make people not even notice where you stepped and where you fell apart at times in your life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, if the past is dead, you got to focus on what's alive currently. You know, if you're too fixated on your past self, you are, in a sense, dying, because you're not living. You're not living in the present. And when you fail to live in the present, in some ways you fail to live at all. You may be surviving, you may be existing, but you're not really living. And what's the point of being alive if we're not living?
That 100% true. 100% facts. Um, Me, like, see, like, so, like, me personally, right? I feel like this whole concept of the power of now, like, that's something that I really had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you said, we both experienced that sense of living in the past, living in the future, not living in the present. Um, it was miserable as fuck.
Oh God,
It was miserable as fuck. Like,
it
just
sucked, Nick. It was terrible.
it was the worst shit. But living in the present and, like, really enjoying it, like knowing that, like, and again, like, I'm kind of referencing the next sub point, but knowing that, the things that you do with the time that you got currently, the
Mm-hmm.
you know the time that's in front of you at the moment, making the most of that. um Trying to be all you can be within that space and time. Reaching out to the people you want to reach out to, going for the job you want to go for, starting a business you want to start, or doing the podcast you want to do, or like whatever the thing is, that eventually sets you up to, like you said, right those wrongs from the past,
Mm-hmm.
and allow those things to go right from the start in the future. So
Right.
that's something that I had to learn. Because, like I said, I was like, yo, I gotta have this, I gotta be this way or whatever, like, and I gotta do it in this amount of time. And I mean, it's cool to do that, but not to the point where you bypassing the time that you got now in order to make that a reality.
Right. I mean, the reality is that most of these epiphanies that you and I are speaking of, you don't achieve them without enduring some sort of pain and suffering emotionally, psychologically, and like in all the ways that we've talked about. So on when you and I are bringing these things up, we're not trying to, like, I want to be clear, we're not judging or coming at anyone's necks
Not
for
at
what we're
all.
saying, but we want people to wake up and realize that it doesn't have to stay like this. Just because it's been like this doesn't mean it has to be like this forever. Like if you've been someone that's been too focused on the past or future, okay, we've been there too. Nick and I are telling you right now, we've been in those positions, but it doesn't have to stay that way. And if you want to be delivered from these negative emotions, feelings, and thoughts, you have to change your mindset. And I mean, we're kind of giving you some keys here. Like, you have to accept that the past is dead. You got to accept that the future isn't born yet. The only thing that's alive is this moment. Like, Nick and I have been talking about how we got to get me on the pod for a minute. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Mike got me on the pod. Now we here. We
Yep.
not focused on the couple times that we tried before and it didn't work out. And we not thinking currently about if I'm going to be on the pod in the future. Of course, we probably going to have a part two.
Oh, for
But
sure.
right now, we making the most of the fact that we here now, trying to give you guys this content so that you guys can end your 2021 on a good note with
Mm-hmm.
some information that you can take into the new year. Because everyone talks about new year, new me, 2022 goals,
Right.
but you can't achieve any of these things if you're not in the proper state of mind. And you can't be in the proper state of mind if you're too caught up in what's already happened and what has yet to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's essentially the same way that I would have said it, in the same way that I feel about the idea of being present in the moment and trying to make the most of it. But again, like, we gonna hit this last subtopic,
Let's
and
talk about it.
then and then we'll wrap from there. But the future rewards and consequences of present actions,
Mm-hmm.
that being something that you have to be aware of. Like when you do what you do,
Mm-hmm.
with the time that you got at hand right now, knowing that if I do this could put me in a position to achieve those goals that I have set for myself in the future, versus doing something where it's like, I might be putting this shit at risk, but fuck it, let's go. Like,
Right. 100%.
what's your thoughts on that concept of future rewards and consequences of your present actions?
You got to live and die on what you stand on and what you do. That's something I tell myself all the time. You know, when you're taking this step, because a lot of people may decide coming off of this pod to take their first steps to tapping into self-actualization, tapping into reaching their full potential and achieving a sense of fulfillment in life. Like, if you decide that you want to do this, which I hope everyone listening does, or if you're currently doing it, you're motivated to continue on, know that this path isn't easy. You know, like me and Nick don't got it figured out, but we know enough to talk to you guys about this. You know, every action is going to yield you something. You know, you reap what you sow. So there's so many directions I can take this. That's why I'm pausing right now.
I already know.
Let's start with this. There are rewards and consequences with what you do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get both. It's like the pros and cons of anything you try to do. Like, you may achieve something, but at what cost? Like, it may have cost you something. You may, like, for example, Nick, you pod. You have, like you just said, you have so many conversations with people every day because you're trying to build this platform that you got here.
Mm-hmm.
In exchange for building something that's going to be great, you're giving up a lot of opportunity to do other things.
Yeah.
Because you're focusing on something. And that could be not even just doing other things, but you're giving up being social with people beyond just conversing about any type of topic or interacting with people. Like, you know, I think a lot about, this is going to be really random, but I think a lot about this one video that I saw on YouTube. It was Metro Boomin back in 2015. You know, at that point, he was out of here. Like, he was a household name by then. But he talked about how in 2005, he told himself, like, yo, this is what I want to do. I want to be a producer. So we're not going to go to any parties. We're not going to be involved in sports. We're going to sacrifice all these things that's going to give me this opportunity to be a successful producer here. And he was having his mom drive him hours from St. Louis to get to Atlanta to connect with people there and make beats there and develop connections. Now, I guess in this case, I'm talking more about like investing in yourself and what comes with investing, pros and cons. And you know that story, he blew up. But I'm just speaking towards of like what comes with your actions. And I think a lot of people have to recognize that for every gain, there's a cost. That's number one. And also, you have to embrace your decision. Like, if you make a decision, embrace what comes with it. A lot of people want to make a decision, and when it goes bad, they don't want to take responsibility for what they did. No, but you did that. You committed to this. Like, it's like with the whole word is bond thing. If your word is not bond, don't give up. Don't offer up your word. Don't make anyone any guarantees, because when they hold you to it, if you can't come through, they're going to say to you, but you made this promise. You gave us your word and you didn't come through. And there's very few things that are worse than you not coming through when you give your word, because that can destroy your reputation. And there's no reverse to maintaining your reputation. If you don't maintain a good reputation, you're setting yourself up for self-destruction, for failure. So tying back to the idea of consequences and rewards with your actions, you got to embrace that. You got to embrace anything that comes with what you do. And you got to accept that even when there are rewards for what you do, the consequence may come at a loss of something else. Like, you know, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Kobe talked about how he would spend every year, all year since he was a kid, investing in basketball. As a result, he lost a lot of friendships. And he didn't get to make a lot of friends with certain people until he retired from basketball. Now, we all know him as the 5-time champion, the greatest Laker of all time, most people would say.
Yep.
And, you know, he left a legacy that even after his unfortunate passing, we're going to remember forever.
Absolutely.
But he wouldn't have been able to do that if he didn't accept what came with his decision, that I'm going to commit myself to seeing if I can be the best. And I'm going to let go of a lot of things that, even though I wouldn't want to, they're going to hold me back if I hold on to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. I'm following.
So that's really my take on it. Like, when you're on this journey of improving yourself and becoming the best you as possible, you got to accept everything that comes with the journey and every decision. And accept that you're going to be wrong and you got to hold yourself accountable when you were wrong in something that you try to do. You may try to come up and you may like make a mistake and do or like do something that was like not right. Maybe you weren't trying to move dirty on somebody, but you may have messed up, and you got
Right.
to own up to that.
Right.
And you got to own up to what comes with you messing up. Maybe you lose that relationship, or maybe you lose that contract. And I mean, when you get rewarded, you also have to keep in mind that this costs something. So don't take it for granted. Don't be caught up in the euphoria of you coming up and not thinking about what it took for you to get there in the first place.
You hit the nail right on the head, Mike. Yeah. So just my take on it, and then we can hop to the next thing just real
Let's get
quick.
it.
Like I me personally, I feel like the reward and the consequence of your present actions is opportunity.
Mm,
So like what I mean by that is like the good things that you do, again, I'm a subscriber of doing everything in genuine fashion with true integrity, and just make sure your moral compass is straight. Um, you do that, I don't see how you can fail, but just try to move in a genuine way. Try to move with integrity. But um, getting back to the point, moving with that in your present actions, I just think it rewards you or gives you consequences of opportunity. So you either gain opportunity or you lose opportunity. Doing something good, you get an opportunity to, like you said, if I play good basketball, I get an opportunity to sign a big deal. If I don't, I lose the opportunity to do that. Um,
right.
and then, like, this could be applicable to anything, but that was just like an example. But that's what I come away with. Like when I read that,
Mm-hmm.
it's the opportunity that's the reward and the consequence. Gaining an opportunity versus losing one.
100%. For me, it really comes down to understanding that every action is going to have the proper reaction.
Right.
And if your actions aren't correct, you're going to suffer the consequences. If your actions are correct, then you're going to gain rewards. And sometimes, because life isn't perfect and there's a sense of balance that comes with life, even with its imperfections, you're going to take actions that are going to lead to results that lead to being rewarded while facing consequences
Yeah.
at the same time or within a certain span of time. You know, it's tough. Like, you got to embrace the good with the bad. You got to embrace the great with the not so great moments. And you got to take everything that comes with it.
Yeah. Everything's not going to be one sided. Like, just being able to recognize what's the good and what's the bad can make the difference between you moving forward versus you not.
1000%. And that's what a lot of people need to realize. But if you don't give yourself the opportunity to realize that, you're going to be confused as to why things are happening to you the way they happen to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like I said, all I can say is when you move, please move in a genuine fashion, true intentions. People respect that, and honestly, it makes you feel better. You put yourself in a better position to be on the receiving end of the great things that life can bring.
Right, right, 1000%. For me, it's really simple. Be real. And what do we mean when we say be real? Because everyone
There you
says
go.
be real. Be authentic, though. Be
Hmm.
yourself. Be the best version of yourself, and give it your best shot. Because when you come short, if people see that you put a genuine effort into it, and if you develop a reputation for coming through, the one time that you like don't reach their peak potential, even if they're a little disappointed, they know that, okay, well, he's still giving his best, and we know that
Right.
next time, like, he or she's gonna have it together. He, she, they're gonna get it together. So that's really what it comes down to. Like, part of tapping into your full potential is peak performance, consistent peak performance. If you set your if you display yourself properly, you don't get the respect that you need to get.
Yeah, and to kind of like uh pinpoint something else, like that word present means a lot to me. Like
Okay.
Like you being present means a lot. Like, you know how they say showing up is half the battle? Like
For sure.
that shit is 100% true. You being present for a chance at getting an opportunity to do whatever, like, you know, to meet that person, or to, you know, put yourself in a position to advance your life in some form or fashion. You gotta show up, you gotta be present. So like you said, your word gotta be bond. If you say I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna be there, like show up, like, and then whatever happens after that, it happens. But at least you show up and give yourself a chance or an opportunity to make it happen.
Right.
That was just the last little tidbit I wanted to say about that. You got anything else for that?
I think I got out everything on my chest.
All right, so the second to last thing. So we just gonna do like a little quick hitter. Um, what's your goals for 2022 going into the new year?
Bro, I got a lot, but I'll run through some. I'll run through like a quick 5, 10 of them.
All right.
So 2022 was actually had the list right here. Give me 1 second to pull that John back up. Okay, here we go. Check me out. So, it's a lot of things that I'm trying to like. They're pretty focused on just things that I've been thinking about for the past couple of years. A lot of my goals tied back to, things that I wanted to do in the past and I just didn't do them, or things that I wanted to do. And now this goal is just a way to get me to do those things.
Right.
So, I brought up how I wanted to read 100 books a year because I used to be an avid reader. So that's one goal. And I have some plans for how to get to that. But basically the goal is just read a certain amount of pages every day. And then, at certain points of the year, when the workload for me has lessons, I'm able to read a lot more and retain a lot more information. Because this goes back to the idea of acquiring knowledge so I can apply it. I'm trying to read to get more information to improve myself. So that's one goal I got. I used to be really good at math. I'm okay now. It's just a random thing, but I think it's a personal pride thing and just something that I just want to get better at. I want to like go beyond the level that I didn't reach in high school. So I got to get there first. So, a goal of mine to like get good at calc level math, just because that's just something that I want to aspire to. It's like a personal goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to improve my physical condition. I'm healthy in general, and I'm not by any means like physically unwell, but I want to get really fit.
I
Like,
feel you.
you know how we get older, it's like, dang, like I can't do that same run that I just did. I'm a little out of breath. Like, what's up with my body? But it's like, you step out of those regimens that we were in back in school. Like we had
Yeah.
gym half the year
Mm-hmm.
in high school. Every year we had gym half the year. So you were constantly moving, doing something. And then you step out of that and then you don't have any type of structure and you don't create one for yourself. Even if your body's good, it's not as good as it can be. So I want to really be the most fit that I've ever been. So that's a 2022 goal. So I'm going to try to hit the gym 3 times a week and just improve my physical condition. Like just be a much better physical me. And working on the gym gets out a lot of stress and clears your mind. So it'd be
Yep.
perfect for any other goals that I got. I'm trying to learn to meditate. We talk a lot about how, our method, you and our methods for, improving on ourselves and protecting our energies to unplug.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes, and I'm pretty sure you can speak to this, even when you unplug, all those thoughts and all those conversations and interactions you have with other people are still stuck in your head at times, even when you're alone.
Yeah, it's a
So,
fact.
so me figuring out how to meditate and just censor my mind and realign my focus and pinpoint my focus on what it needs to be for maximum concentration will lead to me just being a overall much more productive Mike. That's a goal I got for next year. Kind of lining up with staying focused, like with meditation was about focus and concentration. Another goal of mine, and this might sound crazy to some people, I got a goal to keep my phone off 12 hours a day. You don't realize how addicted you are to your phone until you don't got your phone.
That's a fact.
Like it's real bad. Like I remember one day I turned it off for 8 hours and it was the most productive day this year. But I reached and touched my phone about 20 times, 20, 30 times. I'm like, dang, like it's so instinctual for me to just let my right hand just move towards the phone. And I know it's
Mm-hmm.
off and I know I'm not supposed to be touching this thing because I want to focus on what I'm trying to do. phones are set up to be addictive. The apps are set up to be addictive. But it's like, if I'm trying to focus on something, I can't be on Twitter for 2-3 hours. Like, I'm not gonna get my work done. Heck, even us talking, I've had to make sure that I don't instinctually grab my phone, because I kept it on because I got a call that was like an emergency or something. Good thing there's no interruption, but it's like I had to make sure that my phone didn't pull me away from our conversation that we're having for the people and even for ourselves. And then it's just a goal for me to be focused and concentrate, so keep the phone off. And the last two goals that I'll share, because I got like a lot, we'd be here forever if I got into it. Last two goals that I will share is like, I'm trying to just write things every day, write my thoughts out.
Yeah.
Just try to get my thoughts out so that I feel a source of clarity of mind. I think one way for me to not overthink is to just get some thoughts out so that it's empty. It's like, okay, I got this. I got a release out of this thought that I had for however many hours. And I think that'll help me with clearing my mind and focusing more. And last but not least, continue to build my network, develop relationships. Because tying back to this conversation's whole premise of self-actualization, you can't grow if you don't surround yourself with people that'll help you grow.
Right.
Like, no one, and this might just lead to a random topic. People talk about the idea of being self-made. I don't believe in being self-made. No one makes themselves by themselves. Everyone is compiled of things from other people. Most of the time, people are built up by a lot of people. Like, it takes a village, they say all the time, to raise a child. So for you to make it through your own come up, you gotta grow from interacting and learning and developing from other people and getting help from them. Like, you and our friendship has led to so much growth for the both of us. Imagine if we never got the opportunity to know each other, because we say, well, I don't need anybody. I can do it by myself. That's not life. It don't make sense. So continue to build my network and develop relationships so I can continue to grow and evolve as a person and in all my endeavors. Achieve my endeavors is a goal of mine for next year. What about you? What are a couple of your goals?
Some of my goals for the new year. I think I want to find a way to be more at peace just with myself. Like, not to say that I'm not, but I want to reach like the higher level of peace of mind.
Okay.
I mean, it's difficult, like living in the times that we living in, all things considered. But
you're not lying.
But yeah, I definitely want to try to achieve that. But that's like an everyday thing, even past the new year. Something more concrete, I guess. Get the merchandise out for the HolloTalk podcast. That'll be something coming soon. Definitely coming out next year for sure.
Definitely copping some of that.
Definitely
you got the hoodies on deck?
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta cop me a hoodie for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna have, all the merchandise coming out, it'll be a variety of different things, so I'm gonna just let the people wait and see. I ain't gonna give them too much of the secret sauce, but
I feel you.
Yeah. For season 4, I definitely want to get some more people on here. Hopefully I can get my Griselda people on here, man.
So to them.
Yeah, hopefully I can get them to come on the pod. That'll be an amazing accomplishment for me, to be able to have them on a podcast and build relationships with them. Amazing people, amazing artists, and everything included. And just try to, like you said, continue to network, and meet different people, build those relationships, make those connections, and hopefully be able to be presented with more and more opportunities to better my platform, better myself, better my pockets.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
You know what I'm saying? All of those good things, man.
Nothing wrong with that. Cassie said it best. Gotta get my paper up. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact, bro. But yeah, I mean, just things like that, man. I'm pretty sure as the year goes on, it'll be more and more goals and added onto that list. But that's just a few things that I want to accomplish, going into the new year directly.
I feel that.
Yeah, man. But this has been an amazing episode, Mike. I can't
One
thank you.
thousand
I
percent.
can't thank you enough, bro. Honestly, I just I really really enjoyed this conversation. I knew once we planned it, it was going to be one of my favorites, and I definitely think it's going to be a favorite of the people too once they get a chance to hear it.
Man, I'm just happy that we were able to get this going. I know we talked about it for a minute. We might have talked about this for a year.
Yeah.
And we even had one set up, but then something happened and then we couldn't get it going. But now we finally got it right before we hit the buzzer beater. 2 days left, 2 seconds left with the year wrapping up. So I'm happy we got it done. Thanks for having me.
No, for sure.
All the people.
Hold on.
All right, hold on, go for it.
Hold on, Mike. Hold on.
My bad.
You going, man. No, actually, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish your statement before.
No, I was just gonna say, I appreciate it, and I hope to all the listeners that that they could get something from it. I've always been big on trying to make sure that I gave something of value if I show up somewhere. So I hope that this was valuable and meaningful, and this was a good way to close out the year. I think this was good, but I just hope the reception it reflects how we feeling. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. You actually just led me into the very very last thing. So
okay,
I don't know if you're familiar with this concept that we do on the HolloTalk podcast, but for the guests that come on, I ask you guys for 3 gems to give to the people, from the conversation or just in general that the people can apply to their everyday life. So if you are willing to provide the people with 3 gems, to cap off the year, I would be more than happy for you to do that, my brother.
3 gems to close out the year.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, because I feel like I don't want to recycle anything that I already said.
I mean, whatever you feel is most important that you want to say at this present moment.
Okay. Then I'll say most important thing is like we enter the new year. Whatever you're trying to do, make sure you do it for you first. Like, there's nothing wrong with going hard for other people, doing things for other people. But if it doesn't give you some sort of fulfillment, you're going to leave yourself empty, and you won't have anything left for you. So that can be number 1. Number 2 is hold yourself accountable, but don't be too hard on yourself. You have to find the balance between being responsible for your actions and holding yourself up to a high standard without wearing yourself down by your own expectations. Finding that balance is the key to progressing in spite of success and failure in anything you do. And number 3 is appreciate the journey, man. Like, appreciate the journey, appreciate all the moments, good and bad, that come with it. The past 3-4 years for me personally have been some great years overall. But if I didn't appreciate the journey in the ups and downs, I wouldn't be able to look back as happy. Or even if I was good now, I would be looking back thinking like, dang, I was stressing a lot that was unnecessary. And there were a couple moments of unnecessary stress, but overall, I handled that pretty well because I remember that I just got to take in the moment for what it is and not get too caught up in what is and isn't happening. So appreciate where you are, where you've been, and where you're going.
All right. I guess that's it, right?
I think so.
All right. Well, man, listen, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'm glad we was able to get one of our very famous conversations on record finally.
My man.
Man, again, I love you, bro. I appreciate you 110%.
Same here, my G. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, again, before we go, I just want to say thank you always to the HolloTalk Podcast listeners and supporters for supporting us through and through. Man, it's been a journey, and we've enjoyed it. Season 3, that's I guess it's a wrap for season 3, man. The year's coming to an end. We got the right amount of episodes. This is a banger. I hope the people receive it well, man. I definitely think they will. This definitely one of my favorite episodes. Thank you again, my boy. Appreciate you.
Hey man, to close out the year like this, I think we finished 2021 strong. It's dope. Thanks again for having me, bro. And I hope to everyone listening that you have a great 2022 and that you got some gems from the two of us so that you can have a great 2022. For real. Salute to everybody trying to figure life out. This life stuff ain't easy, but
Facts.
it's worth figuring out. That's for sure.
Absolutely, man. So, I want to take this time out to wish everybody a happy new year. You man, just stay safe, stay blessed.
Please stay safe.
Just stay prayed up, man. We getting through it. Uh and just enjoy, man. Like Mike said, just enjoy life, man, and enjoy the present moment and enjoy where you at, where you've been and where you're going. And with that being said, this has been another episode of the HolloTalk Podcast, and we will be back. I appreciate you, Mike.
No
Peace.
problem, bro. Peace. Salute.